It's not going.
And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the PlugTalkSports live show, episode 189, final night of the month of June. We've got Brandon Ligori, myself, Danny Torres, and we got Janka Don't Stop. I'm glad to be back with you guys after 2 weeks. I was in the FIFA World Cup final one in Miami tomorrow, and then I am free.
Wait, so you're free just like Jalen Ramsey?
Yeah, I'm without. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Except I'm staying in Miami. I'm not going to.
Oh, okay. You're not going to Pittsburgh, right?
We got lots of business tonight, gentlemen. Brandon Hernandez will be joining us shortly. He says he has some sort of audio issues, nothing out of the usual. We're gonna start with the big blockbuster trade that occurred. There's a lot of sports news that's been happening today. It's been kind of busy and crazy, but we're going to start first with the crazy blockbuster trade that the Dolphins were involved with, and I'll read you guys the trade right here. The Dolphins trade Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, and a 2027 7th-round pick to the Pittsburgh Steelers in exchange for Minkah Fitzpatrick and a 2027 5th-round pick. Now, if you look at this, you say they gave up 2 players and a draft pick for 1 player and a draft pick.
Right.
We knew that they were going to get rid of Jalen Ramsey. Okay, we already knew that. But Jonnu Smith, after he had a career record year and you get rid of him, and now they're in the market to find another tight end, that one didn't make sense to me. Brandon, I think you retweeted it, and I think you commented on it, talking about Raheem Mostert's tweet that literally said, "Yeah, you guys."
And that's kind of right. No, right, and that's kind of what baffles me the most is. I mean, sure, Raheem Mostert, let's not act like your fumble against Buffalo last year or your fumble against the Indianapolis Colts wasn't a significant reason as to why the Dolphins lost both of those games. And I think it's honestly hilarious how a now ex-Miami Dolphin, no longer with the franchise, sits on Twitter, or X, excuse me, and just, talks garbage basically about how Miami's upper management treats Pro Bowl players that play for the Dolphins like crap.
Yeah.
I wasn't really shocked that someone had posted about that. I was just more so the fact that it was Raheem himself because, very good dude, came here, I believe, over in 2022 when, McDaniel. Obviously, there was a lot of familiarity there when the two played with the 49ers, McDaniel being the offensive coordinator. Or was he the offensive coordinator with the Niners? I just want to make sure I'm getting that right. Or past game coordinator. He was.
I believe so.
Definitely had a high title there, and there's so much has been going on. I totally forgot that McDaniel was once with the Niners.
Yeah.
But this is just when I saw the trade break down. I was shocked that we got Minkah Fitzpatrick back because I thought he was a player. And now again, if you guys don't know, obviously played for Nick Saban. First-round draft pick back in 2018. He was the 11th overall pick. He would have fit well in Miami's system. The problem was him and Brian Flores didn't see eye to eye, and he didn't want to be part of Miami's disgusting rebuild. You flash back to that 2019 year where Miami got embarrassed against Baltimore at home and a Patriots team that I believe had Tom Brady and Antonio Brown on the same team. funny how that all of a sudden you flash forward now 6 years later and the Patriots are an entire different franchise. But it's not like you had opened up with it. It's a player that's wanted out for a while now.
Yeah.
It's a player that the Dolphins had to get out of their building. We talked about this quote unquote culture change, and we got to bring the right guy. So first of all, again, I've said it 100 times. This team hasn't won a playoff game since 2000, and this team hasn't won the AFC East since 2008. So I hope Minka Fitzpatrick can be that guy. I'm sure. I mean, I'm curious to see how defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver is going to use him. You take a look at Miami's current secondary, and their cornerback 1/nickelback 1 is literally Kader Kohu. Now, again, that's no shame to Kader Kohu, but it definitely screams a position of need that, I mean, tomorrow's July 1st, training camp is approaching the closer we get. And then after training camp comes preseason and roster cut down day. I mean, the Dolphins still have a lot of work to do if they think they're going to be competing for anything really this season. Because as of right now, I don't see this team. I believe their over under in wins is, I believe, 9. I don't really pay attention to that, but I don't see right now how this team is winning 9+ games with the roster that they have. Now, again, they could totally shock us tomorrow and they can acquire Kyle Pitts, or, I heard Michael Mayer from the Las Vegas Raiders. That's another name include with the tight ends that I've been seeing floating around. So I don't know. I'm shocked that they, like you said, though, I'm shocked that they traded away Jonnu Smith, considering that he had a career year last year. He was Tua's security blanket, really. Miami's only lone Pro Bowler. Now, again, I think Jonnu Smith was a replacement Pro Bowl, so it wasn't really. I don't think he initially got voted in. I think he was a replacement. I could be wrong there. I don't think I was, though. I don't think I am.
I gotta know. What exactly did you say that had Jalen Ramsey block you on X?
Yeah, so that's something that I honestly didn't. Someone had. They sent me a post that he mentioned like fake journalists or whatever. I was trying to dig for the tweet and find it, but I honestly think I think it's his managers that are running the account. Yeah. I still think it's funny because I don't work for the Dolphins. It's obviously a huge dream of mine, but I'm currently not working for the Dolphins right now. So for a disgruntled player to block somebody like myself on X when I don't even really have that many followers right now, and I'm still building my own page and my own repertoire, I was stunned to see that, but I couldn't help but laugh and post about it because I'm like, I'm obviously in your head, dude. If you're getting that mad at me, a local journalist from Davie, Florida, you know what I'm saying? So I had to tweet that out. I don't remember coming at him I did, talk about him a bit in 2023 towards his play, at the end of the season, down the later parts of that season. But I don't know, man. I mean, my DMs are open if he's ever willing to talk. But now that he's on his way from the AFC East to the AFC North, I don't even think Jalen Ramsey himself did it. Again, I think it was his management team that did it.
We're gonna let Mr. Celtic in here into the chat. Mr. Boston Celtic, good morning. How are you? We're just discussing how we thought that the Dolphins trade was, at least to us, not good. Jonka's gonna say his piece, and then Brandon H, you can jump in after Jonka.
Yeah, I'm gonna say a little bit because I want to hear Mr. Hernandez's take. But I'm gonna have to point this out. For some reason, the Dolphins think that getting rid of their best corner is gonna help with probably one of the worst corner rooms in the NFL. You have an unproven Cam Smith. You have Stormy Duck, Kader Kohu, the corner you just drafted from the Florida Gators, Jason Marshall Jr. Nobody's been proven yet. You needed a safety because that's what you wanted Ramsey to play, but he said no. I wanted to play corner. He's never played safety, so why even put him in the safety position? That was the whole argument there, and plus, and the way he got treated and everything. it's not good. And then Brandon, you were talking about how long it's been since they've won a playoff game and since they won the AFC East. I want to just point this out there just to make fun of the Dolphin fans even more. Uh, they won the AFC East in 2008, and let me remind everybody that is watching.
Tom Brady got hurt.
Tom Brady tore his ACL that year. Funny how that works. The GOAT of the NFL history tears his ACL, and that's what puts the Dolphins over the edge in the AFC East. Funny, but besides that, I don't see how this draft improves the Dolphin situation. Basically, took away Tua's basically best producing receiver for the last season.
Well, we don't know yet. I mean, there were reports though that the Dolphins have been talking, about adding a tight end, which they have to because their main tight end right now is Julian Hill. And if they're walking into the season with Julian Hill as their tight end, they might as well just forfeit the entire season because not only are they going to be not only are they not going to be competitive in a what's already much improved AFC East from a couple years ago, we know it's basically Buffalo's here and the Dolphins, Jets, the Bills are here, and the Dolphins, Jets, and New England are all kind of in the bottom, finagling who's ever going to be second and third. But if the Dolphins are walking into the 2025 season with Julian Hill, Pharaoh Brown, Hayden Rucci, again, no disrespect to any of these guys. They're all better. I mean, they're all obviously better than all four of us. They're all professional athletes. But if you're walking into a room like that, and that's the tight end unit that you're putting out on the field to start week one at Lucas Oil Stadium, I don't see how you're going to sit here and tell me that you're in it to win it this year. And again, let me remind you guys again that there's a huge year for McDaniel, for Tua. I don't know if there's a huge year for Chris Grier because I think we've all said it. I've said it 100 plus times. I'm sure Brandon has said it as well. I think Stephen Ross and Chris Grier, the bond between them two, it's so tight. I don't see Stephen Ross firing Chris Grier. I think Stephen Ross made some move midseason on Mike McDaniel if it gets to that point quicker than he made some move on Chris Grier. You got to remember, when the team lost to the Jets to close out the year, which was a total gross loss. I didn't even think they were going to win that game anyway. Obviously, didn't even have Tua. And you also had Tyreek Hill quit mid-game. When they came out with that statement, they immediately said, we're continuing our football operations with Mike McDaniel as the head coach and Chris Grier as the general manager. But I know there was something in that post that if, we're not satisfied with quote unquote status quo, meaning we're not satisfied with 9-8 or 8-9, or back when there was 16 games, it was 7-9 or 8-8. Like, this is a huge year for the Dolphins, and right now you're not only depleted at cornerback, but you're depleted at tight end as well. So again, I don't think the Dolphins are done, especially knowing what their tight end room consists of. Excuse me, but it's frustrating to know that a tight end like Jonnu Smith, who was basically your best offensive player, not including Devon Achane. And, I wouldn't even say Tyreek Hill was in that category last year because, again, not only did he quit on your team mid-game, he didn't have Tua for 6.5 games. His numbers statistically were, a career low in a lot of them. Jalen Waddle, it's a huge year for him as well. So, again, until the Dolphins don't improve in that secondary / tight end unit, I don't see this team getting any better in 2025.
Well, from what I'm assuming from this one, though, because when you look at the entire trade details itself, you got also have to split it in halves, right? The Minka Fitzpatrick one going hand in hand with the Jalen Ramsey, and then the Jonnu Smith going hand in hand with what, a 5th round in 2027?
Yeah, it was like a late round.
See, I understand the Ramsey one because now, similar to what the Dolphins were a few years back, it's turning to a retirement home in Pittsburgh. They're talking about putting every single chip they have in this one season with Aaron Rodgers, DK Metcalf, and again, DK Metcalf for Pickens. Now you have Ramsey for Fitzpatrick. Are they really pushing that envelope in the AFC North? Only time will tell. But for the Dolphins side of things, though, I like going a little bit younger in the position. Obviously, corner is going to be a big issue. We're going to be shopping for that, as well as for the Dolphins, shopping for a tight end. A lot of people talk about Mayer out of, basically the Raiders, who already have Brock Bowers as their number one tight end on that group. and then maybe something with Kyle Pitts, bring him back to his home state from Atlanta. So there's a lot of potential suitors for trade partners. Of course, we don't know what Chris Greer is thinking about. We don't know what the franchise is thinking about, because it looks like they're just trying to financially get themselves in a right position, saving $26 million with his Ramsey deal. But overall outlook, you got a younger squad, a younger core now for the Miami Dolphins, where, before we talked about Calais Campbell, Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill, all these different outliers for the team. Now you got guys who are going to be a little more healthier, a little bit more younger. Of course, Minka's had his own health issues throughout his career, but I don't know. I honestly like the pick, the draft. I'm too NBA and NHL draft. I apologize, guys.
but Brandon, are we willing to say right now with this roster, obviously roster cut down days coming soon. Obviously, we have to take a look at these guys during training camp soon and preseason. Are we confident right now to say that this Dolphins team is in it to win it this year? Because
who cares?
Roster.
Who cares? I'm telling you right now, Bradley Chubb, we don't even know what his health is going to look like. Jalen Phillips, we got to wait till training camp. As of right now, this is a young roster. It's something you got to build for the future for Chris Greer and Mike McDaniel.
Yeah, so but I don't think
I'm not expecting this to be a year where everyone's going to get fired if something bad happens.
No,
if it's a make or break year, then that means that Tua must be on the chopping block after this season.
This is year 4 of the Mike McDaniel era, and
with one losing season,
right
in week 18.
At the end of the day, though, it matters about how many division championships have they won, how many playoff games have they won, how many Super Bowls have they won. That's what I look at it. I don't care if you were a Dolphins head coach for 11 years. My team made the playoffs in all 11 of my seasons, but when my record in the playoffs was 1-10. I mean, then really, what the hell did you really accomplish? I mean, kudos for getting the team to the playoffs, but what did you really? I mean, this is you look at accredited reporters that have millions of followers, and again, followers don't matter, but guys that are on TV every day and do this for a living. I don't see one not saying that this is not a huge year for the Tua McDaniel marriage. I think this is a monstrous year for the both of them, and Tua's in that category as well.
I'm gonna have to agree, because just think about this for a second. Let's say this year does not go as planned and it ends up being like an absolute disaster. You could see McDaniel gone, Greer gone, Tua probably on the chopping block.
How can you run
Tyreek gone, and then you're gonna have this like terrible cornerback room where you're gonna have to probably draft more corners. You're gonna have to improve this O line, improve the D line, and find a new quarterback. And you're just going to have to hope that Quinn Ewers is the guy, because if he's not the guy, there you go again. You're going to have to waste another first-round pick on a quarterback instead of a potential star player on the receivers, because you're about to lose Tyreek Hill. Like, let's be honest. Like, Waddle doesn't show that it was his potential that we've been waiting for, he might be on the trade block too. Like, this could be a whole new restart, and I don't think the Dolphins.
I think they're doing right now, entering 2025, John. I think they're doing a slow rebuild without literally saying it out loud. We're rebuilding slowly. I think the moves that they're making right now tells me that we're walking into 2020. Now, again, if they acquire Kyle Pitts tomorrow, and if they somehow acquire a first-team All-Pro corner or 2 first-team All-Pro corners next week, then I'm going to jump right back on here and say, no, I think that the Dolphins are in it to win it this year. But as of right now, the moves that they're making, no Calais Campbell, bye Jonnu Smith, like guys that made an impact in your locker room last year, I think it's slowly saying we're rebuilding, but we don't want to say it out loud. Because we don't even know what about Tyreek Hill's injury on his wrist. He hasn't caught passes this offseason. He's ran routes. Is this going to be the same thing with Odell Beckham, where Tua and Odell were working on chemistry, but then Odell had a setback, and then he still had a setback, and then the Dolphins didn't activate him, and then the one game that he played against New England, he dropped 2 pounds. Like it was a mess, and you don't know where his head is at mentally. And I'm talking about Tyreek Hill.
Look, the only way you could probably categorize it, though, and I'm putting it in the NBA terms, Dolphins are pulling a Boston Celtics. They're trying to get financially in the right position where they're not going to get penalized in any way, where they're not going to bite themselves. And they got players that are going to complain, so you got to get a new culture in there. And again, as I said before, This is not a move to go towards a division, which they haven't won a division in X amount of years, a playoff win, which they haven't done in a playoff win in X amount of years. This is to get younger and to get the team at a standpoint where you can be competitive, but you can grow being competitive. So if anyone expects this to be a hot seat year from the Miami Dolphins,
I disagree.
I'm telling you right now, that's the same people that said the same thing for Brian Flores, that every single year was a hot year. But at the end of the year, everyone said, well, 1-7 start. He finished 9-8, whatever. We'll keep on moving with them.
Well,
I don't think any of these two guys, and McDaniel, Chris Greer, no matter if it's a losing, winning season, will get cut off. I think that this will be a long-haul project. And unfortunately for me and Brandon, this is going to be a long, long ride.
But if you're
everyone had high hopes since 2023, but since 2023, you can't compare it to 2024. And honestly, if you're looking on paper, you can't compare it to 2025. There's no way you can go to both of those sides and say we got expectations for 2 straight years for a playoff win or Super Bowl win.
So if you were to ask a fan if the Dolphins finish the 2025, you guys should post it right here, right now. If the Dolphins finish the 2025 year 5-12, you're telling me they're running it back with McDaniel, Tua.
Unfortunately, it's not our decision.
All right.
It's not our decision.
I mean, that's kind of the heat.
I will make sure to quote you specifically when that Ian.
I mean, if Jerry Jones could have had Dak Prescott in the trading block, he would at any moment. But it's not his. You know what I mean? Like, I'm pretty sure the fans will feel the exact same way in Cowboy country. But if Jerry Jones signs a guy for X amount of years, he expects to see a guy for X amount of years. That got McDaniels on a deal through 2026 and an X amount of players. It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
Wait, Dallas has a football team? I had no idea.
Let's not. Here's
a 300 IQ hypothetical situation for the Dolphins right now. I would feed Tyreek the ball as much as I possibly can.
But we don't know if his wrist.
Wait.
We don't know how his wrist is.
I would feed a tight end and also an offensive line trade.
I know eventually, Tyreek is going to be on the field with Tua, right? Tell Tua, give it to Tyreek no matter what. Just feed Tyreek, right? Give him a big year, huge year, right? And then using that momentum with Tyreek having a big year, trade him somewhere else and get a bunch of picks.
But that's what 2023 was all about. It was, Tyreek Hill, 2,000 yards. Tyreek Hill, 2K. And he even said himself in a meet with the media one day, he was like, I did think that was kind of selfish, but like there's always something with this team. There's always something. Like it should be a team effort. Just as big of a year it is for Tyreek Hill, it's an even bigger year for Jalen Waddle, a guy who's trying to stay healthy, who's trying to stay on the field for as long as possible. And just as big of a year it is for Jalen Waddle, it's even a bigger year for Tua. Same thing. Can he go back to that 2023 self where he stayed healthy all season long? He was in the MVP conversation up until that December Baltimore game. Like, it can't just be on one guy, Tyreek. Because last year it was all like Jonnu. Like it has to be. You have to have a quarterback spread the ball all over the field, which Tua is that guy. When Tua's healthy, and I've said this too 100 times, when Tua's healthy and all his receivers are healthy, he's the most accurate quarterback in the league. We see it during practice, and I know people are going to say, well, it's just practice. They're not really playing cover 2. I know they're going to say that, but I've seen it firsthand. Like, when everyone's healthy and when everything's going right, Tua is the most accurate quarterback in the league. Again, we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what guys are going to be out there come September. We don't know what tight end. Maybe it is Julian Hill, and we have to ride the entire season with Julian Hill.
I'm gonna step in, Jonka. We're gonna move.
Okay.
I want to go to Brandon H first. NBA free agency. What so far in these last couple hours? What has been the most shocking move to you?
So I've actually been going back and forth on Twitter nonstop since I left work, and there's like 3 teams that really have picked up my eye. I think I'm going off top first. Atlanta. Yeah. Atlanta. Keep the stock high on that team. I mean, you're talking about going out of your way. Sure, Clint Capella, gets a little deal over there with KD in Houston, but Porzingis trade with the Celtics, that was a big move in the right way. Alexander going from Minnesota over as a wing defensive guy to Atlanta. Luke, my apologies. I think it was Leonard. I forgot his name. 3-point shooter from Memphis. Memphis going on to Atlanta. And I think just Atlanta in general. Trae Young apparently has been according to Shams, had been involved as well in a lot of the signing deals. So that one I think is really big. Denver as well. Bruce Brown Jr. He's going back over there, a fan favorite from 2023, as well as Cam Johnson. And the Cam Johnson one, that being a trade for Michael Porter Jr. with a first-round future pick for the Brooklyn Nets. I honestly like what Brooklyn's doing. You know, they're getting their like Sharir Williams. They're getting their young guys who are actually worth something. They're getting them re-signed now. They're getting themselves Michael Porter Jr., which Cam Thomas, I don't know who's going to be fighting for the ball for 40 shots per game at this point for Brooklyn. But I love that trade for both sides of the team. And honestly, for Brooklyn, I think that they're going to push themselves into a playoff season scenario, maybe even a play-in. And then the third team that's very eye-opening, and I'm pretty sure we're going to talk a lot about it, going to be the Miami Heat. 2 hours in. We haven't seen a move yet.
What's going to happen with Duncan Robinson? It's
going to happen or something. We have Malik Beasley going to the CIA for some reason. We got Brook Lopez going to the Clippers, which are Brook Lopez and Zubac. That's scary. That's a scary 5-position rotation right there. And Miami has not really done anything yet. Obviously,
Miami did re-sign Davion Mitchell, which I thought was a good re-signing.
That was a good one. However, $24 million over 2 years. We're talking about $12 million man. Right. And is he going to be the starter?
Well, now we get to see him for a full 82-game season. I mean, the real question, though, like I said, is what's going to happen with Duncan Robinson. Remember, all the money that Pat Riley gave Duncan Robinson. Now the question is he opts out of his current deal. What's going to be right? Because I believe he denied his player option, or he opted out. So that's the big question right there. Now, again, I tell you guys all the time, I'm not a big basketball freak. I know you guys are. I know there were some good moments Duncan had. Do I think the Heat are winning a championship next season? No, but I will agree that the East is more wide open than it was, especially with the injury to Tyrese Halliburton, the Achilles injury to Jason Tatum, now we got Brook Lopez leaving the Bucks. So I definitely think the East is wide open. I still think the Southeast Division is probably Orlando's division, but anything can happen. But right now, I'm curious to see what the Heat do.
I think that Heat fans tonight are very disappointed because
just look at Champa's face. I mean, he says it.
At this particular moment, when we've seen trade signing after signing after signing after signing on all these teams, we're stuck here wondering if whether Duncan Robinson will restructure his contract or if he will go somewhere else or get waived or whatever. And Pat Riley told us at the end of the season, we're not running it back, but yet here we are, aside from re-signing Davion Mitchell and having our draft pick, and now wondering about Duncan Robinson, which I'm sure Heat fans don't lose sleep over at night, whether this is going to be another run back year.
I think it's one of those things, too, though, where Pat Riley's probably sitting behind closed doors and going like this, like waiting for something magical. Like, I'm going to pull something, and it's going to be one of those Shams bombs where he posted something at 1 a.m. saying that the Heat acquired Giannis. I don't know, just something bombarded that Heat fans wake up from, like, oh my God, what just happened? Like the whole when Luka Doncic got traded. It's going to be one of the. I think they're silently sitting behind closed doors and going like this with their hands, saying, "Just wait and see."
And what I would say too,
we've been waiting for that for a while.
I'm telling you right now, though, because the Jonka piece is also very interesting. Because I know Jonka's like they don't do anything. I can't watch this team. This move makes me not want to watch them until April. But for Giannis Antetokounmpo, because Tyrion Prince has re-signed with the Bucks, and for the Heat missing on Jordan Clarkson, who about 39 minutes ago went to New York, is expected to sign with them pretty soon.
Yeah.
I think if you have all these outliers from Milwaukee leaving, and you just have Kyle Kuzma with Damian Lillard whenever he comes back from injury fully healthy, what would the deal be? Because if there's already reports about Jonathan Kuminga from the Warriors having a lot of interest between Warriors and Heat, Those two parties trying to get a deal done, and then you have now Giannis, who might be a consideration. Where does that lie for some of the guys on the roster? Like, I honestly look at like guys like Cal Anderson, where like you can like blink and not even realize, oh, we just lost a roster spot. Who was that? That was Cal Anderson. You can move on from Cal Anderson. You could probably move on from Andrew Wiggins, coming from the three if Giannis is a dealt in that. So there is pieces for Miami. There is pieces for Miami. Now, the inflation of the NBA is actually insane for some of these players. Like I saw Jerome, Ty or whatever his name was that went to Cleveland. Yeah, Ty Jerome. He got like a big deal. Like over like $40 million, I believe.
It's probably because of what he did to the Heat during their first round series.
Exactly. I mean, again, we're talking about guys who are very scrappy, small guys, but they're getting paid money where you would expect an all-star to get paid about 5 years ago. Like if TJ McConnell was a free agent right now, I guarantee he makes more than $30 million of a 2-year deal if he was a free agent.
McConnell in the Heat.
I mean, that was a scrappy dude.
Watching him in the finals reminded me of one guy, and that guy is JJ Barea. That was I'm watching this finals, and I'm like, man, like talk about scrappy, feisty, like. And again, I don't want to remind people that if Tyrese Halliburton didn't tear his Achilles, Pacers would have definitely won that game. But that can be a conversation for another day.
We've been here's the thing. Heat fans have been waiting for that moment, Brandon, that you were talking about, that major bomb in the past few years from Pat, and it has not happened. And instead, every major fish that Pat has been trying to land, it has not happened. And we saw KD not come here after speculation during the trade deadline when they were trying to get rid of Jimmy, and then, of course, now in the offseason, that didn't work out, which obviously you see why he went to Houston, because Houston's going all in. We saw Dwayne Wade on his podcast say that ever since D Wade was playing and he knew that they were trying to go for KD, and led to the whole thing of he got mad because, they didn't pay him first and they were going after KD, and they didn't, D Wade ended up leaving to Chicago because of that KD did not want to follow LeBron's footsteps and was never interested in coming to Miami. So he said he was not surprised that KD ended up in Houston and not going to Miami. That they need to let that dream go, and he pretty much said just like this: they need to get their shit together.
Yeah, I just think the look on Heat fans' faces every summer when they're in talks of getting a big-time superstar and the entire thing just falls and does not go their way. I just love looking at the reaction of everyone on Twitter. That's like, it's like the moment's there, and then boom, Houston acquires him, and everyone. And the funny thing about it was Shams dropped it during the Panthers parade, which we haven't even touched on anything Panthers, and I'm 33 minutes into our show, and we have not mentioned one thing about.
We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
South Florida franchise that is relevant right now as of June 30th, 2025.
Brandon H., I want to ask you.
Yep.
Do you realistically see Giannis leaving the Milwaukee Bucks this offseason?
I actually do have this like weird international theory that I always boast around, that in the NBA, if you follow an NBA All-Star that came from a different country, whether that's be France, Germany, Lithuania, or what have you, a majority of the time, they are the one that never has their foot out the door. They're usually the ones that don't decide, let me get traded now, let me leave, whether that's Luka, whether that's Dirk Nowitzki, whether that's going to be, Valanciunas or whatever it is. I've never seen an international star request a trade like this. So if it is going to be Giannis requesting a trade, it's not going to be anything messy. It won't be anything messy. I think it'll be the franchise realizing the direction they want to go, and Giannis realizing he needs to leave if they want to do that direction of a rebuild. And again, we're talking about a team that has Kevin Porter Jr., Kuzma, really as your 1-2 options behind Giannis, unless you want to think Bobby Portis is a big scorer. But I think there is, if any season right now, it's more realistic right now for Miami to go after Giannis, because I think in 2026, they're going to have their checkbooks looking nice. I think money will be in order to make more free agency moves. But if you just want to get, just that big star, let's lock them in on a few years, and let's see if we can get a little, upcharge on chemistry with Bam Adebayo potentially in the front court. I think this will be it right now for Miami.
Jonka, before we move on, anything you want to touch upon NBA free agency?
Buddy, you don't even know. Let's bring the notebook out.
He's getting the notebook out.
John does bring.
I have written down every
John
trade
like
that has happened
professor's
today.
notebook in his hand.
Let's bring this out. Atlanta, Luke Kennard, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Magic, Tyus Jones, KCP, and Desmond Bane. Celtics, Luka Garza. Pistons, Caris LeVert and Paul Reed. Bucks, Kevin Porter Jr., Bobby Portis, and Taurean Prince. The Nets, Michael Porter Jr., Darren Sharp, and Zaire Williams. The Bulls, Trey Jones and Isaac Okoro. The Hornets, Colin Sexton and Mason Plumlee. The Raptors, Garrett Temple. The Cavs, Sam Merrill and Lonzo Ball. The Knicks, Jordan Clarkson. And let me tell you guys this something right now. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers, New York Knicks, Indiana Pacers, Milwaukee Bucks, Detroit Pistons, Orlando Magic, Boston Celtics, Atlanta Hawks, Philadelphia 76ers, and Chicago as better teams than this atrocity that we have here in South Florida.
Hey, you're not happy that you have Terry Rozier?
No.
You don't think the Wizards might do something with Chris Middleton?
Brandon, this is your time. Say it.
The Heat are within that trash. They are not making the playoffs, so I'm not even looking forward to April, bro. Brandon,
all I have to say is thank God for Bill Zito.
I usually skip the whole entire season because the Heat are going to do the same thing and either be in the play-in or not. And guess what? This year, they're without their star player, Jimmy Butler. Now they're going to start off even worse. They're not going to get enough wins. Brandon L., you said that, the East is open. Buddy, the East is only open if you're a good team. If you're a bad team, it's not open. You're out. And from all the names I just listed,
but the Heat. I mean, hey, look, the Heat are going to get a play-in. Come on, we already know what's going to happen.
I'm willing to put a double Cuban and a Mame shake on it that the Heat will not make the playoffs.
I'm waiting for you to.
I'm gonna put that in the notes. Because
come April 2026, you best believe I'm running over to your restaurant, and I better
June 30th.
Junk, I don't know what you just did, but these guys are writing it down.
Free Cuban.
You made a bet, is basically a friendly bet.
Free as of June of this year.
Well, if the Heat,
I'm doing the Ernie Johnson right now.
This year, I'm getting fed pretty damn good.
Listen, let's just listen to this. Are the Heat better than the Cavaliers?
No.
Knicks?
No.
Pacers?
No.
Bucks?
No.
Pistons?
No.
Orlando?
No.
Atlanta?
Absolutely not.
No.
What is that?
Also, they are better than the Bucks.
Boston.
The Bucks are. Well, before we even go any further, I do want to say one thing about the Celtics. Obviously, the second apron's killing them alive. I think Brad Stevens said in a press conference that literally he didn't realize how serious it was until it stared him in the face. We have Xavier Tillman as our starting center at the moment if we don't get back Al Horford.
There's a basketball team in Boston?
Unfortunately, at the moment, yes. There's a basketball team.
How do you think people feel about the damn Florida Panthers? There's a hockey team in South Florida?
But still, the only thing I would say, though, I don't know if the Heat aren't going to make the playoffs because they'll probably be a 10th seed and somehow make it through the play-in and screw up a number one draft choice. So they'll figure it out. Pat will figure it out.
All right. Boys, I think in this next topic, we can probably confirm that we'll be making trips to the elbow room all the way to 2030.
No. We're going longer. We're going way longer than that. Yeah, honestly, I might bring my laptop now and just bring it in the car tonight and just drive over there and just sit there for a year and wait.
Panthers re-signed Sam Bennett, Aaron Ekblad, and Brad Marchand. They signed the guys that they needed to sign. They get it done. There needs to be a shrine built for Bill Zito, who, by the way, didn't win NHL Executive of the Year somehow.
He doesn't need to. I'd rather have what's inside his damn trophy case.
Yes, they need to build a shrine for that guy in Sunrise in front of a Merit Bank Arena because he locked down the three guys we needed to lock down.
And you also forgot to mention, not only did he lock down the three biggest unrestricted free agents that they had to get done, they all took discounts instead of going somewhere else to possibly pay state tax, they chose to stay with the Florida Panthers. Hockey's next dynasty. I mean, I know a dynasty you have to win more than just going back-to-back, but 3 consecutive Stanley Cup final appearances, 2 consecutive cups. They're going to be the betting favorite to three-peat heading into 2025-26. But that's the big thing that we're leaving out here, that the fact that all 3, with Sam Bennett, 8 years, $8 million in average annual value, Brad Marchand, 6 years, I believe it was about 5 and change per season. And then the Panther legend himself, Aaron Ekblad, who I had a chance to speak with and met last week over at Tainsware, 8 years, I believe it was $6.1 million in average annual value. The fact that they all took discounts to remain with a team that's going to be competitive for years to come, and for a team that's going to be the talk of South Florida. Remember, they said hockey couldn't work in South Florida. Remember, they were on their way out of South Florida. They were getting ready to relocate Quebec or wherever the hell they were going, but it wasn't staying over here by Sawgrass Mills Mall. We are blessed that, obviously, with the toxicity that surrounds the Heat, the Marlins, which, by the way, don't talk that crappily about the Marlins. They've won 7 games in a row, and they're currently the hottest team in all of baseball. And they might have found a franchise player in Otto Lopez.
Yeah.
But we are so blessed to have a general manager and a president of hockey operations in Bill Zito, a guy that's willing to listen to what the players need. You need a new practice facility? Let me go to my owner and say, hey, you know what? Instead of the ice den over in Coral Springs, we need a brand new one for ourselves. You get that done. You, like I said, re-sign the top 3 biggest unrestricted free agents. And now, I mean, if that doesn't scream, we're running it back and we're going to three-peat. I mean, they're not saying we think it's possible. They know it's possible. But if you're a hockey fan, if you're a Panthers fan, I mean, if you're a Panthers fan, you're dreaming. Because remember, all I tell people nowadays is, even whether we're at Elbow Room, whether we're at Rainforest Cafe, you told me 11 years ago hockey wasn't going to work in South Florida. That's what you told me. You told me that my favorite hockey team was a joke. You told me they were never going to win a Stanley Cup. And here we are. They're possibly going to go to 4 consecutive Stanley Cup finals and looking to become the first team since the Islanders back in the 80s to three-peat. So,
I think the coolest part about this as well is that I'm seeing the East a little bit crumble a little bit.
Yeah.
March Marner, the regular season merchant, he moves out to Vegas, so get him away from Toronto, so we don't even have to deal with them, even though they re-signed Traverse. And then you have, what is it, Boston throwing every single thing in their bank at Marchie, and he still came back. I think that's the craziest piece. You got yourself a franchise player for about a decade in Boston. One trade settles it enough where you convince him, man, you really don't need Boston. You really don't need hometown vibes. You need a real 2030 type of, let's go on a legacy run through your 42th birthday. So that's what I also think is kind of insane with the deal. It's going to be till his 40s. But then, Reinhardt's going to pick up the pace. Aaron Ekblad obviously drafted in 2014. The Ekblad Forsling line stays alive, which I love for Bill Zito because that was a big thing for him to have, again, guys from the Panthers draft all the way into now all-star caliber players such as Barkov. I love what Bill Zito has done so far for the Panthers of these re-signings. And again, within less than 12 hours before free agency for the NHL. I mean, talk about on the dot, working right before anyone else can even pick up a phone call to sign these guys. So great job from Bill Zito, great pace from the team. And again, the only team in the East pushing the envelope. So I love it. I really do love it.
Also, too, don't be surprised next year if the Panthers don't win the Atlantic Division. This is a team that, remember, 3 consecutive Cup finals. They've played a lot of hockey since that special 2022-23 season. Don't be surprised if you see a lot of guys, we always throw around that term load management. Don't be surprised if you see guys like the Barkovs and the Reinhardts and the Kachuts and the Brady's don't be surprised if you see guys taking off 4 games, 5 games. I don't want Panthers fans to worry when the team goes on their first 5-game losing streak, like they did this past March when they went on that random 4 or 5 game losing streak, and people were like, "Oh no, is this it? Is this the end of the quote unquote dynasty run?" I'm just letting people know they've played a lot of hockey. Their seasons have extended all the way until June. Don't be surprised if come October you see guys taking rest. I'm not saying it's going to happen every night, but there's going to be nights where you don't see a Barkov in the lineup for maybe a week, or you don't. I'm just saying, don't. You got to be patient. You want your team to do 3-peat. You have to take it one day at a time. But right now, what we've seen, it's been absolutely, marvelous.
I got 2 things. One, I think it's crazy that Marchand is probably going to be remembered more as a Florida Panther than he will Boston Bruin. And 2, Brad Marchand should never, ever, ever have to pay.
I knew you were going to say this.
Ever for a Dairy Queen Blizzard in South Florida. Ever. Again, should he have to pay for one down here. Jonka, you got anything on the Panthers?
Not really, bro. I mean, it just sounds
like
we're going back to back to back.
Hey, Jonka's still looking at that NBA list, man.
Oh no, it just came out. Gary Trent Jr. is re-signing with the Bucks.
Which I don't know what the hell he's doing.
So that pretty much means Giannis.
Well, we do know what he's doing. Brandon is re-signing with the Bucks.
No, besides that, I mean, look, I know this wasn't even an NBA topic, but this is one thing I have beef with Milwaukee. It's either you go full blowout or you go for it all. Like, you're re-signing players that aren't really doing much, man. This is a first-round team at best. Again, first-round team. All right? For Gary Trent, the way that he ended off that first round in the Eastern Conference, there should be no reason why he's being underpaid and going back to a franchise like Milwaukee. That was a guy I thought was going to be leaving. But
does this solidify the Giannis is staying? Would that be?
Well, if I'm Giannis Antetokounmpo, I don't think Gary Trent Jr. is going to be pushing that envelope. I'm gonna be honest.
But where would he go then?
I'm telling you, Pat's behind the scenes. He's going like this.
For what though? What is he gonna offer, bro? That he didn't offer KD?
Look, all I know is I don't think Phoenix wanted guys like an Andrew Wiggins or anything like that. I think that if you're Milwaukee, you would just take anybody just to get started. If they're willing to give up draft picks, and again, I know we're on hockey, but if the Miami Heat, for the first time in a lifetime, were able to give up draft picks and actually maybe a young player like a Jovic, knowing that you have KP coming in for the guard, and really the Giannis would take over the 4 position at this point. I would be willing to do that, but I don't think Pat's going to do that. But they have the pieces, though. I think they have the best destination for him.
Brandon L., do you have any final thoughts on our back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers?
We need to take realization that we are living in if you think we're dreaming here, we're not. Like, this is a reality that I know I've said it 800 times, but the Panthers are 1 Stanley Cup win away from 3-peating. Again, a team that was not even supposed to be here anymore in South Florida, because you know what they said all these years, hockey wasn't going to work. You can't have ice in South Florida because ice melts with this humid sun. I mean, all these crazy things that they said. And also remember, too, I know I'm going a little off topic here, the Winter Classic, that famous game that everybody watches in January. Yeah, remind me where that Winter Classic's happening, because last time I checked, I was covering a Marlins game last week, and they already have signs up outside of Lone Depot Park announcing that in January of 2026, the Rangers and the Panthers are going to be playing at Lone Depot Park. So just for all you bums out there that thought that hockey was never going to work in South Florida, I'm here to tell you that we're 1 win away from being the first team since the Islanders in the 80s to 3-peat.
So we're going to move on here to Inter Miami being eliminated from the FIFA Club World Cup. They lost.
You have a soccer team here?
Apparently, and they lost 4-0 to the European champions, PSG. My question to Brandon H. and Jonka, do you think them tying Al Ali, beating Porto 2-1, and tying Palmeiras 2-2, and then making it to the round of 16, considers this as a success of a tournament for Inter Miami?
I'll go
Talk, you
first.
want to go first?
Yeah, I'll
Yep.
go first. Do I consider it a success? Besides, I think if I read this correctly, that my Inter Miami was the first American team to be the European team in a big tournament.
Yes.
I mean, besides that, I mean, I think Inter Miami just tried their best to do with what the talent that they had. I think Messi was just running out there legit by himself. Like we already know Suarez can't run anymore. Alba is just there on like crutches, and Busquets is like always complaining, trying to foul people. I mean, and then also on that blowout in the first half, 4-0. Like, what do you expect Inter Miami to even do, bro? Like if PSG won the champion, they're the Champions League champions, bro. Like, what do you like? I don't understand. Like the talent level, the skill, the speed, the like everything is so outclassed that I don't even know what you expected Inter Miami to do. Even if you like them or you don't like them, like still, like you can't expect them to win that matchup. And it ended up as expected, as a blowout. But what I take out from this, because I'm gonna be positive, for a second, because they faced the champions, basically of the best club in the world at the moment. There's no club that could basically how do you say what's the word I'm looking for? Like intimidate you. There's no team that can intimidate you that you've played the best, technically.
Yeah.
So heading out with this break from the MLS, now you head back, you take some rest now, you come back, and now it's like, all right, yeah. These like we just played PSG. Now this kind of ball looks kind of slow. Now they have the experience of what it is to play with these other teams from around the world with better talent, more money, more everything. And now we're gonna see what happens. Now this shows though. Now I'm gonna say this. This shows how the money in America and the money for soccer around the world is so ridiculous that it shows that money can buy you wins technically. Like America, how the MLS has a salary cap. I don't want to say the word because I don't want to offend anybody, but it is utter stupidity for having a salary cap in the MLS when a lot of people would love to play in the MLS. I think a lot of players would love to play in America, but they don't because of the salary cap and international roster spots and this and that, a bunch of BS. Open up, no limit. Watch how things happen in America, and watch how the audiences and the stadiums go up, and everything is going to go up. Watch.
And I completely agree with that. And honestly, the FIFA Club World Cup being here in the U.S., I think is going to put a lot more for a lot of these owners of the MLS, a lot of course, commissioner for the MLS. But for Inter Miami, was it a good or bad thing the way that they ended out? I'll tell you one thing, though. They did better than Inter Milan. They had a better FIFA Club World Cup than Inter Milan. Honestly, I think the Champions League final, they did a little better.
Inter Milan lost to.
Fluminense.
Exactly. So
Fluminense from Brazil.
It sounds like
and the Brazilians have been hot.
Influenza.
Hey.
So I'm telling you though, we're talking about the first MLS team to win a European club. We're talking about the MLS front runner when it comes down to what Los Angeles did in this tournament to make it to the round of 16. And if you're going to go 4-0 against PSG on home soil, being the U.S., I don't think that's a bad rap. I really don't think that's a bad rap. I mean, if they won their game in the last game of the group stage, instead of having a draw, they could have been on a better bracket and maybe gone through the round of 16. But they got held a juggernaut at, shooting range, basically. I mean, they were bound for the kill. So I didn't think Messi could have done anything for them. I didn't think that, even if you have a prime Ronaldo, I don't think they would have done anything for them. Like that PSG team is one of a million as of right now, European style.
One of a billion.
Play.
Do we think, what about like teams like Manchester City and Bayern Munich? Do we think that, is this PSG's tournament to win, or do we?
Well, I don't know what to tell you because
most likely
Manchester City is currently tied 2-2 with Al Hilal from Saudi.
Oh, really? I haven't. Oh, wow.
Hey, listen. All I know is the disparity from clubs from America to Brazil to Europe is being shown, and I'm gonna be honest with you, Brazil is actually impressing me.
Yeah.
Like I think they led in like three groups, three or
Yeah,
four
they
groups.
had 4 teams going to the round of 16.
That's crazy. That's and especially if I was at the Flamengo versus Bayern game. Hey, they gave Bayern a scare, bro. Bayern was up
Yeah.
2-0, and they came back and nearly tied that thing up at the end. But they went up 4-2, and then that game was over. But
So, last 5 minutes, Brandon L. had mentioned Otto Lopez. The Marlins are the hottest team in baseball right now with a 7-game winning streak. They swept 2 teams from the National League West Division, which is one of the hardest divisions in baseball, in the San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks. And to be honest with you, I'm like, where the hell did this winning streak come from?
And for a team that's off tonight and they open a 6-game homestand in 6 days against the Twins and Brewers. When you have such a young team, when you really have nothing to lose, when everybody's doubting you, I mean, the results show. Coming into March, we knew what this team was going to be. We all said it. They were probably going to lose 100-plus games. They weren't going to win the National League East. They weren't going to be competitive. Last I checked, the wild card, I believe they're like 8.5 games out. I mean, I wouldn't say they're not mathematically out. We still have the All-Star break, the post-All-Star break. So, and I also believe the 6-0 road trip that you mentioned, sweeping the Giants and most recently the Arizona Diamondbacks, I believe it's the first time in franchise history that they swept a West Coast road trip, I believe. I saw a stat that the Marlins X account posted that the 6-0 was a franchise record, and they've won like 9 consecutive road games.
Don't forget, they're 1 game back from 3rd place of the Atlanta Braves.
And that's something that I was going to tweet out this morning, but I just got so busy with the Panthers news and then obviously the Dolphins blockbuster trade. If coming into this season, if you were to tell me that July 1st, the Marlins would be a half game behind the Atlanta Braves for 3rd place, then remember too, if they never got swept by the Colorado Rockies at home, they would probably be like, I don't know, 6 or 5 games out of a National League wildcard spot.
5.5.
Like, we're sitting there, thinking, oh, it doesn't matter anyway. The Marlins aren't making the playoffs. And then we see them go on a current 7-game winning streak, and we're like, wait a minute. If they actually maybe took 2 out of 3, or if they didn't get swept by the worst team, arguably the worst team that we've seen in a long time, I don't even think the Rockies right now, have they even won 20 games? Like, that's how bad they are. They might hit 70 losses before they reach 20 wins. But if they sweep the Rockies, again, we're talking about the Marlins possibly being fine. Again, this team is exciting to watch. This team is fun to watch. They now got back Yuri Perez. We don't know what's going to happen with Sandy Alcantara, whether he's going to get traded or not. Edward Cabrera, I mean, kudos to Edward Cabrera. He's been hearing all this nonsense where it's not going to work out with him. His stuff isn't there. His location is not, his location is all over the place. His fastball's not there. His velocity has dipped, and he's gone out there, even going back to May, and he's pitched I believe his ERA is well under 4 now. And he's going to take the ball in the opener tomorrow. I mean, if you have nothing to do during the week and you live in that area around Lone Depot Park, go out, support the guys. I mean, again, we said it all along. This is it. It's patience. You have to be patient. They're not going to win a World Series this year, but what I've seen over the last month or so, I mean, guys, they're almost at 40 wins. And this is a team that we all thought they were going to be like the Colorado Rockies. They were going to hit 70 losses before 20 wins. So I'm impressed what I've seen. So now let's just see what this. I mean, hey, if they finish 5-1 in this 6-game homestand, we could possibly be talking about the Marlins almost being at 500.
I'm gonna put a little more down to earth here. I mean, of course, the Marlins' incredible run. But this does feel like a Marlins season during June where the team's getting hot, but we're still like a few games behind 500. You know what I mean? like I like what's going on. I like the young core. I'm not believing yet. I'm not dreaming yet. There's plenty of time, Brent, as you said. There's plenty of time for a push towards a wild card post most likely All-Star break.
That would be wild if we're celebrating a wild card. Like
I'll be insane. I mean, again, we'll probably get rocked by the Phillies like last time. But
we're going to John.
Exciting.
We're going to Jonko's and we're going to take out our pots and pans and start banging.
So I do love this Marlins team, though. I like the youth. I love that they're still fighting. Cabrera, obviously, as mentioned before, has been really red hot from Otto Lopez. And then, again, this is a team that had Konai start off. He ends up getting hurt. Now, that was like a little sluggish time. And now they're starting to find their groove again with Dan Myers and everything. Everyone, the bats are starting to get going.
They're talking about Dane Myers possibly being on the trading block. I mean, to a team that's obviously, contending. But I don't know. July here tomorrow, or really in 59 minutes to be exact, it's going to be interesting to see what the Marlins do. But again, are they going to be trading players? I don't know. Fans are obviously tired of it. They see it's like a reoccurring cycle where the Marlins are good in May and June, and then boom, they trade away all their players. So again, we could be sitting here come post-trade deadline and be talking about how Otto Lopez is gone, Sandy's gone, Edward Cabrera's gone, and then we're all back to square one. Or who knows? Or they'll end up keeping all these guys and they're going to just ride it out and, we'll obviously see what happens. But for Clayton McCullough in his first year as a full-time manager, it's a different scenario with the Marlins and Dolphins, because in the Dolphins, you have a coach entering his fourth year. With the Marlins, you have a first-year manager with a young roster. They weren't expecting to do much, but lately we can all admit they've been the hottest offense in baseball. They've been really good bullpen-wise, and now we just got to see what happens as the calendar turns.
So that comes to the conclusion of.
There's also before we go. Yes. There's $1 hot dog nights. I think on July 18th or 17th. I'm not a big hot dog guy. I don't watch the hot dog eating contests every year on the 4th of July. But you bet my ass I will be there on July 18th or 17th, I think. $1 hot dog nights. So
there you go.
Throw that out there.
Brandon L with the glizzies.
Oh my God.
That's going to conclude episode 189. We hope you guys enjoyed the show. As always, follow us on all social media. We hope you guys enjoy 4th of July weekend. We'll see you guys next Monday for a brand new episode. Have a great night.